Welcome to What Order Should You Play the Kingdom Hearts games, HD 1.5 Remix Edition. If you're watching this, you're either interested in the series and you want to know where to start, or you're already invested into the series and you want to know where to go next. Either way, this is the video for you. Now before I explain why you should play it in a specific order, I'm going to go ahead and show you both the release order and the chronological order on screen. Feel free to screenshot or pause the video and write it down. Now if you're still here, then you want to know which order to play in, release or chronological. The answer is undoubtedly release order. However, you can play it chronologically, but you will suffer severely for doing so. I'll be mainly focusing on the release order as I'm talking here, as it is the recommended way to play. However, briefly towards the end of the video, I will go over the chronological order. Now, the first game that was released was Kingdom Hearts, which was released in 2002 on the PlayStation 2. Now, it introduced us to the main cast of characters, it's introduced us to the universe, and it set up the rules of the franchise itself. It's aged well, but I'd be lying if I said that it didn't have any flaws. Compared to the rest of the franchise, its combat is simplistic and bland. The platforming is at times clunky, but none of the games released afterwards have any real platforming mechanics. The story, however, is amazing, and you'll quickly forget its flaws as you play through it. Now, once you've completed Kingdom Hearts 1, the next game on the list is Chain of Memories. It's personally one of my favorites for both the story and the gameplay mechanics, and it actually picks up the story immediately where Kingdom Hearts 1 leaves off. Now, this game was released in 2004 on Game Boy Advance, and then in 2008 as an HD PS2 port. Now, the gameplay is very controversial among the fans, but if you take a moment to learn it, it'll quickly become one of the best features of the entire game. The gameplay is far superior to the original and very smooth in comparison, and it has two story campaigns, both of which are amazing adventures with beautiful stories. The next game released was Kingdom Hearts 2 in 2006 on the PlayStation 2. Now, this game is actually regarded as the best in the series to this date by many of the fans, and none of the games that came before or after have really been able to live up to Kingdom Hearts 2's reputation. The story is much longer this time around, and the gameplay has received a full overhaul since the original game. It's almost unrecognizable even. The combat is smooth and fast-paced and full of quick-time events. The amount of abilities and unique powers in this game make it very unique and sought after by many of the fans. This is the game that actually cemented the franchise as a long, ongoing series, and not something that would probably die out in a year or two and be completely forgotten. Ever since Kingdom Hearts 2 was released, the Kingdom Hearts series has been growing at an exponential rate. After Kingdom Hearts 2 is Kingdom Hearts Coded. It released on mobile and then later on DS in 2008. It has a very unique gameplay to it where every world has a very different way of playing. Like, I believe Wonderland is a stealth world and stuff like that. Every world is different. It's a very interesting and unique concept. And however, this is actually probably the most controversial game in the entire series due to its story. Now, I personally find it to be one of the best stories of the series, but I can understand if someone might not like it. To save you the trouble of having to go out and getting a DS, it has been compiled into an HD movie to save you the hassle. With the release of Kingdom Hearts 2 and the release of Coded, came the demand from fans to see more of a specific character. I won't say their name to avoid spoilers, but that demand eventually resulted in the 2009 DS release of 358 over 2 days. And the story behind it is phenomenal, and it actually has some of my favorite scenes of the entire series so far. However, the gameplay, it's just horrible. It's honestly borderline unplayable even, it's just that bad. The missions you go on to even progress the story are so annoying and repetitive that you're basically just playing the same mission the entire game. There's really just no variety or really any difference between all of the missions. Its only real redeeming quality is the story itself. However, luckily, they did release the HD movie, just like they did for Coded, just for this reason. After the 2009 release of 358 over 2 days, came the 2010 release of Birth by Sleep on the PlayStation Portable. Like Chain of Memories before it, it features multiple campaigns, but this time instead of 2 campaigns, it has 3. Now you might be thinking, whoa, 3 campaigns? It's gonna take me forever to even play that. But just hold on before you freak out and just scrap the entire idea of playing the Kingdom Hearts series. Because the campaigns, they're all 3 very short. You can actually probably play one of them in just a sitting. That's actually what I did. There's really just not that much to them. Altogether, the 3 campaigns, they're only going to total out to about 35 or so hours, about 30 to 40 hours, like all of the average Kingdom Hearts games anyway. So, one thing to note about Birth by Sleep is that these 3 campaigns are all available at the very beginning. You can pick through them all the way from the very beginning when you first get the game, unlike in Chain of Memories where you had to beat one campaign to unlock the other one. Now, there's a very important thing here, and you have to play the 3 campaigns in a very specific order to avoid spoilers for the series and to just keep the story at a steady flow. That way it's not all jumbled up and confusing. And that specific order is Terra, Ventus, Aqua, TVA. You play it in that order, and that will be the best thing to do, because some of the campaigns go farther than the other ones do, and you don't want to spoil events from the other ones by playing one of the other ones. You know what I mean? So definitely want to play it in Terra, Ventus, and Aqua order. Any other order will make it very hard to keep up and prevent yourself from spoiling events from the other ones. Another thing to note, once again, Birth by Sleep has a few little special things to it, is that the majority of the Kingdom Hearts games, with the exception of like 2 or 3 of them, all have secret endings. However, the Birth by Sleep secret ending is actually more than just a 1 or 2 minute clip. It is actually an entire new playable segment called the Secret Episode, where you get to play for another hour and you have about 25-30 minutes worth of new cutscenes and story to play. All 3 of the stories are great. I personally enjoy the combat system, but it is a little bit controversial with the fans, and I can understand why, but it's a great game, so I hope you enjoy that one as well. The next game is Union Cross, previously known as Unchained Key. Now this is actually a mobile game for Android and iOS, and it is actually important to the story. I am just gonna go ahead and say it is important, especially with the newer lore that they've recently put into the Season 2 of the game. It is very important to the franchise. Now previously this was a Japanese exclusive game on the computer, and it was called Key. However, they recently released the international version and called it Unchained Key because it was essentially chained up only in Japan, and they unchained it. However, they changed the name to Union Cross for the 2nd season. Now what you want to do is you're going to want to play the first 586 quests, and then that'll be your stopping point for the 1st season, which would be the Unchained Key part of the game. You might be thinking 586 quests, I mean that's absurd, but it's okay because the majority of these quests can actually be done in about 20 to 30 seconds. Even the longer quests are only about 45 seconds. I mean, now it does follow the majority of the same story as Key. There are a few little changes, but for the most part it's pretty much the same thing. After a while it does branch off into its own original story, and the original story is actually really good. After you've beaten the 586th quest and completed the 1st season, you will then want to go and watch the original Key's secret ending. You can find it on YouTube. It's probably going to be on Everglow's YouTube channel. Once you've seen the Key secret ending, then you want to go watch the 1-hour movie Key back cover that gives a little bit more backstory to the entire Key saga. It's essentially just a look at the same thing from a different perspective. It's like a It's like the background details. It's really cool, and definitely a very interesting thing. It's not just a bunch of repeat of the same information. It is something new. After you have watched this 1 hour special back cover, you then want to go back to Union Cross and play Quest 587 onwards. At that point, you will be in the Union Cross part of the game, the Season 2, and you just want to play from 587 onwards. The game is still ongoing to this date. I believe there are around 775 quests so far. I do find it to be a little tedious with the filler sometimes, but overall it's just a fun game to play, and just a good time passer. So you can go to Everglow's channel like I mentioned before, and he does play the entire game. He plays both the English and the Japanese version. He even translates the Japanese cutscenes for the game, and he uploads those as well. So you can be completely caught up all the way to the Japan quests, because we are a little bit farther behind in the international version. So if you don't want to actually play the game, it is 100% okay for you to just go watch the cutscenes and get the story there. It'll be essentially the same thing you'd do with Coded in 358 over 2 days. You won't be missing out on anything by not playing it, as the story only progresses in the cutscenes anyway. Now, after you have finished watching Key Back Cover, and you have started the Quest 587 onwards of Union Cross, you now want to play 0.2, A Fragmentary Passage, which is a sequel to the original Birth by Sleep. In the secret ending to Birth by Sleep, we were teased a Birth by Sleep 2, but we never got it until 0.2 came out. Anyway, this is actually the first Kingdom Hearts game that was released on the new Unreal Engine 4, with completely new graphics and a good story. It's a little jarring because, you know, all these games have been on the same engine with the same graphics, and then suddenly you have this with a completely new engine and completely new models. The graphics are amazing, the details are great. You can actually see the fibers and the clothes and stuff. It's really cool and really interesting. So the game, it has a great story and all, but the flaw of this game is actually its short 2.5 hour playtime, which that includes the almost 50 minutes of cutscenes, bringing the gameplay down to barely an hour and a half. Now, despite that, it's still a very fun experience and a good little hype for Kingdom Hearts 3, because originally 0.2 was part of Kingdom Hearts 3, but they split it up so that it wasn't too long. A lot of people just consider 0.2 to be a demo for Kingdom Hearts 3. Personally, I don't really like to call it that. Either way, it's a great little entry in the series. And then after you have completed 0.2 and you've been keeping caught up with Union Cross, it's finally time for Kingdom Hearts 3, which will be releasing sometime in 2018. And that is the full Kingdom Hearts series in release date order, and that's actually the entire first arc of the series. The first, it only took 16 years, but that was a lot, and you're probably intimidated by all these entries, especially considering they're all in different consoles and handhelds. But relax, because they've actually been compiled into different collections. 1.5 and 2.5 are both on the PlayStation 3. 1.5 has Kingdom Hearts, Chain of Memories, and 358 over 2 days movie, while 2.5 has the Kingdom Hearts 2, Birth by Sleep, and the Coded movie. The other collection is 2.8, which has Dream Drop Distance, 0.2 Fragmentary Passage, and the Key Back Cover movie. 2.8 is a PlayStation 4 exclusive. However, the 1.5 and 2.5 can get you can get those for the PlayStation 3 or the PlayStation 4. Now, if you do not have a PlayStation 4, like I said, 2.8 is a PlayStation 4 exclusive, so you will not be able to complete the collection. Now, the PlayStation 4 release of 1.5 and 2.5 is actually all in one. On PlayStation 3, they're two separate entities. However, on the PlayStation 4, it was released as 1.5 plus 2.5, and it has all 6 of the games on it. So if you get 1.5 plus 2.5, it's all on one disc, and then you can just pick up 2.8 separately, and then you'll be waiting for 3 next year like the rest of us. There's not really much more to talk about, however, like I said, I will quickly go over the chronological release, or the chronological order of the games, which would be Union Cross, Quest 1 to 586, back cover, then Union Cross Quest 587 onwards. Then we have Birth by Sleep, Kingdom Hearts, Chain of Memories, 358 over 2 days, Kingdom Hearts 2, Coded, Dream Drop Distance, 0.2, and 3. Now, I did say 0.2 is a Birth by Sleep sequel, but the full story does not end until directly after Dream Drop Distance, so it's being placed after. Although you can play it in this way, it is not recommended, as you're going to be lost in the lore and the references, since you have no basic understanding of the series that way. Like I said, if you play any of the games and you haven't played Kingdom Hearts 1, it's going to be a little bit harder to understand, because Kingdom Hearts 1 did introduce us to the universe and kind of set up the basis of the franchise. So it's going to be a little bit hard for you to understand some of this stuff, and it's definitely going to spoil a lot of major plot twists that are in some of the games if you play some of them that take place before or after. So you don't want to do that, but like I said, it's completely up to you. So now that you know, go have fun and good luck, and I'll see you guys next time in a new video.